Leigh Anne, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And why don't you start by just telling us your dance story?
Yeah, so I'm from Northern Ohio. So I started dancing at a very small school in Fremont, Ohio, and kind of hit the top of that when I was 12, 13, looking for something a little bit more. So my parents drove me 45 minutes to Toledo, Ohio, which is the bigger school nearby. So I got to do bigger performances and again kind of started to hit that top and wanted more. And so by then I was 16. So I was looking at high schools, and there were no art schools in my hometown, so I was just going to a public school. So I started looking at other high schools, and I landed at Nutmeg Conservatory for the Arts in
Nice.
Connecticut. Yeah, so I was there. I went to their summer program for 2 years, got accepted that way, and then went for a year and a half. So I left halfway through my junior year at high school. I just needed to finish some things personally and some family stuff that just wanted to finish that half a year. And then I went my junior and senior year. And when I was there, it was really cool. I got to take college classes at the same time. So I
Amazing.
was driving over to UConn, University of Connecticut during the day, and those were transferring back to my high school, which was really helpful now that I'm, working towards getting my college degree. And so after Nutmeg, I, did the whole crazy audition thing, 18, went to New York, did it all, and landed at North Carolina Dance Theater, now Charlotte Ballet. So I was a trainee there for 1 year and then stayed as an apprentice and worked with their second company a little bit. Did not get hired, so on went the auditioning process again and landed here in Louisville, which at first I was just like, what am I doing in Kentucky? This is
Mm.
crazy. And it was a big change from North Carolina, but within the year, I fell in love, and within the year, I got hired. So it's always that really exciting thing of getting your first job. And I've been
Absolutely.
here since. So I was 20 when I was hired, and yeah, and here I am still, which is crazy. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. How many years have
Yeah.
you been with the company then?
So I came in 2009, so I'm going into my ninth season. I
Wow.
know. Who would have thought? But
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, I really love it here. And, we have a new director. And so just even that little bit of change has brought some freshness and almost feels like you're in a bit of a new company, but still all your friends and colleagues are there. So that's,
Right.
yeah.
Cool. And how did you get into yoga?
Yeah, so this takes me back to Connecticut, actually. I did a lot of Pilates in high school, a lot of reformer work and stuff like that, but I had never touched yoga until I moved to Connecticut, to Nutmeg. And one of my teachers, I was just in love with her. I thought she was the nicest human being. Her name's Victoria Mazzarelli, and she also had this beautiful body. And, we're looking to have this specific body type. And I was a gymnast just as much as a dancer until I was 16. So
Mm.
I had more of a bulkier physique. And so I was looking for that long, lean muscle because I know I'm a muscular person. So I'm trying to keep that, but lengthen and find all of that. So she, one day after class, was like, hey, you all should just come to yoga with me. And I was like, I'll do anything she's doing if I can look like her. So I went to yoga. It was totally crazy. It wasn't even your traditional yoga. We were like hopping around and laughing, and it was very different. But that was my initial attraction to it, was actually like the physical side of it. So as I moved to North Carolina and to here, I found places, and it kind of became my church. I would go every Sunday morning, and so it just kind of felt good and was so different and really inviting and stuff like that. And I actually kind of went on a hiatus of practicing because when I was here as a trainee, I had no time for
Yeah.
I was working and I was dancing, and so to have a practice what nearly felt impossible. Um, but I decided to go to a teacher training, and the minute I decided to do that, that's when I was like, I got to get back into my practice. I can't just walk in and think I can do this. So yeah, so I think I was 22. So it was after my first year in the company. I was just looking for kind of a second job, actually, but
Right.
something that felt like I could take this even maybe after my dance career. And it's funny, I had always told my parents, like, I'm never going to be a teacher. I'm not going to be a ballet teacher. I'm not going to be any sort of teacher. It's just not what I want to do. Um, and that still stands for ballet. I am not a big fan of teaching ballet, but yoga for me is everything. I really, really love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I think for a lot of dancers, the physical transformation is what initially draws us to like any cross training a lot of the
Absolutely.
time. Did you
Yeah.
find physical changes from yoga?
I did, and I mainly found it when I went to the training. So when I was on a schedule and doing it every day, I remember I came back and someone's like, "Did you get taller? Did you grow?" And it was just
Nice.
that length, which is amazing. And but again, it takes doing it every day or practicing and falling into a schedule. So yeah, yeah, I
For
find
sure.
it to be really, really good for my body type.
And now, so you just decided to do the training. Was there something that inspired you to do it or
I don't even
just
remember. I don't know where it came from. It was just kind of like, I'm going to do this thing. And this is also that transition of getting into a company and all of a sudden you have your summers off
mm,
and you're getting to that age where do I go to a summer program? Do I RA? Like, what do I do? So I was trying to find something that was still physical. And so that's what I went with. And I went to Denver, which is where my brother was living at the time. So went to Denver and did a training out there with them. And it was just the best teacher training that I found that was in the location that worked for
that
me. And it was
worked?
a week intensive. So it kind of felt like
Oh,
a summer
wow.
intensive, right? We went from,
Hmm.
7 a.m. until 9 p.m. It was crazy, but it was,
Yeah.
10 days long. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
And now, how much do you teach?
So I teach every day but Monday. So
That's a
yeah,
lot.
usually Tuesday nights, usually Wednesday and Friday mornings before I come to the ballet, and then also in the evenings. So and then like an afternoon or morning class on the weekends. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot. I know. It's crazy. And this year I'm trying to back off a little bit. We
Yeah.
have a pretty heavy season, so I am trying to like find a balance. But it's just the reward to me is the same as dancing, where it's like I don't feel like I'm walking into a job. And people are coming in because they want it, they need it, and then they're
Mm.
leaving. Everybody's feeling better. Even I feel better. Sometimes I'll walk in there and I'll be so tired from a day doing what snowflakes
Yeah.
over and over again. And I'm like, how can I possibly stand here and teach? But by the end, I'm rejuvenated. And to me, that's rewarding. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
I just want to say again, anyone who's watching live, because I see there's a handful of you on here, if you have questions for Leigh Anne on yoga for dancers, please type them in the comments and then we'll get those questions answered. But I've still got more. How
Yeah.
do you think yoga can benefit dancers?
Yeah, so it's so interesting we're talking about this because I just started teaching yoga to the Louisville Ballet School summer
Mm.
program, and I was trying to think what message do I want to leave with 16 to 18 year olds, and what am I trying to say? And um, obviously the initial benefit we look at is physical, right? It's cross training in a terms of that you're turned in, and sometimes we don't realize how weak our turn in muscles are because
Mm.
we only focus on external rotation, and that can cause a lot of pain and injuries actually. So for me, that strength and internal is really important for contemporary work, that grounded feeling, which I really love contemporary work, so this all is like falling in line. But
Right.
I find too that it as dancers, we think it's all about flexibility and how high can I get my leg. And with yoga, there's a little like taking that back a little bit. And yes, it's like, can I get my leg a little higher? But it's also how much can I strengthen and hold the position? I mean, similar to ballet, right? Like we want our legs high in adagio. It's the same effect in yoga. So I think the physical benefit is that you're getting the flexibility, you're getting the stretch, but then you're also building strength. And it's always your own body weight, right? It's never more than your own body weight. So you're not going to bulk. You're just, and then now I think it's more mental. So I face wanted them to feel good about themselves on their mat, right? So there should be no judgment, no no comparisons, no I don't like my body. It's all about like loving yourself on your mat, letting all that stuff go that we don't need, that we tell ourselves, like, scraping our way around that and finding like the beauty that really is inside each and every one of us. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's like it takes that much work to find that inner strength and confidence as it does to get our leg above 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So
No, yoga for me was the biggest transformation I got from yoga was mental. And it was
yeah,
because there were no mirrors. And I was actually for the first time like thinking about how things felt
yeah.
physically without, I have to admit, I did like that, you know, as a dancer in a yoga class, you always are like the
Oh yeah.
best one.
Oh
They're
yeah.
always like,
And the
oh my gosh, you're
and the
so
teachers
amazing.
always know when you're a dancer. Like always. They can
Yeah,
always pick you out.
right.
But yeah.
So I definitely liked that part too.
Yeah.
But, just having to separate from the mirror and just feel
Yes.
things physically without worrying about how it looked necessarily was really big for
Hmm.
me.
Yeah. And whenever I teach, I'm really big on giving tons of options. So, we all have aches and pains. And I think with most yoga, that's how it should be. That, if you, as a dancer, it does come easier to us. So if we need to make it harder, that's available. And if you need to make it easier that day because you've had a long day, you can make it easier, and that's not every cross training is like that.
No.
There is
Yeah,
some cross training that I can only do in the summer when I, am not dancing for 6 hours a day.
for sure.
Yoga you can fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said that you felt like yoga works for or worked for your body type. Do you feel like there's any dancers who should avoid it?
Mm, no, I think no, because it's so alignment based. I don't think, I'm trying to think through my friends who I've kind of gotten them hooked on yoga, and I haven't heard any bad feedback, honestly. And
Yeah.
I also work with other athletes, swim and basketball and softball, and it's crazy, and it weirdly works for everybody, and that's what's so beautiful about it. But no, yoga was created for everybody, literally everybody. So
Right.
it might look different on some people, but it's yeah, fantastic for everyone.
Yeah. Anything dancers should be careful of or wary of when practicing yoga?
Yeah, so overstretching is the biggest thing, right? It feels good and we're in there, and I teach a lot at hot studios as well. And so there is that danger of overdoing. And so I've found that low back can be sometimes an issue. So because we're mobile in our backs, we splay our rib cage in down
Mhm.
dog, even just because we want to feel it in our hamstrings, and you might not
Right.
feel it in your hamstrings. So you have to find ways to avoid the crazy arching and the sitting into to muscles and bones that you don't need. So yeah, being overstretching and overdoing is just not necessary for that. But so somebody said something like, "Oh, isn't yoga harder for people who aren't flexible?" And it's like, no, I think I disagree. I think it's harder when you are
Yeah.
flexible, because we have to work to tone it back, and that's harder than sometimes than just pushing and trying to get into something. So yeah.
Anything or yeah, anything that you think dancers should look for in instructors?
Yeah, so both instructors and type of yoga. So I teach a vinyasa flow class, and that's been my favorite. Most teachers will teach different. Every single class is going to be different, where some yoga is exactly the same every time you go. And for me, that's like ballet bar. I've done that already. I want to not know what's coming next and,
Mhm.
have that surprise. So for me, that vinyasa flow is really important, and the flow really works for me with the breathing and finding your own rhythm and music, kind of like musicality, but in your own body, which is really nice. And obviously, sometimes our brains, I think, tend to shut off when we're busy, which is, that's the only time you can get through is when you're kind of like keeping your body going versus just laying still.
Mhm.
So this is like constant movement, which is really nice. And then instructors, I just think alignment is key for dancers. I mean, you're going to get the most out of it if your instructor is aligning your bones. You're not going to get injured, because that's the last thing you want to do, right? It's like injure yourself while you're cross training. So an alignment based teacher is really, really important. And then someone who's going to, again, know whether you're pushing your flexibility or whether you're honing into your strength and then working into that deeper flexibility.
Yeah, I know that I tend to be critical of instructors as a
Yeah.
dancer, and I think a lot of dancers are.
Yeah.
I would say, like you said, the most important thing is that it's somebody who's aware of alignment and
Yeah.
because I was critical of different things when I was young
Uh-huh.
versus now when I go and take a class. How I assess an instructor is very different.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It's about finding that person who is knowledgeable, who like legitimately knows body alignment and can convey that to you and give you proper cues and corrections.
Exactly. And that, this last teacher training I did was so interesting because they kept using me as the most mobile person, and it's almost like almost embarrassing because you're like,
Right.
okay, I know my leg goes here,
Right.
but what I learned out of it is how to find that control. So there are teachers out there who can get you into a deeper practice, and you'll it's crazy. It's like, why I don't think I should be able to feel my hamstrings in a forward fold, right? I never feel them, but you can, like, bend your knees. There are other variations and modifications that you can do that, you're not overstraining into the hamstring insertion, but you're keeping it really in the medial side of the hamstring. So yeah. And then you want an instructor who's fun and nice and yeah.
Definitely. So we have a question from Facebook. Do you feel like yoga helps for core strength as well? I used to do Pilates, but it started to strain my hip flexors too much, so I decided to try yoga instead.
Yeah. So core is everything in yoga. Everything. Like, yeah, it's amazing. So I'm trying, like, it's just like ballet. I think that's a beautiful thing. You're up on 2 feet. You're transitioning between weight. And so that all is coming from core stability. And so my original training is called Core Power, and they drop on the floor and do core every single class. And I'll do that if it's the right kind of vibe and what we're looking for. But the reality is it's called Core Power because that's exactly where all your strength is coming from. And so even the fun stuff like the handstands and the arm balances and all that stuff, like, yeah, some of that's arm strength, but the majority of it is coming from your core. So yeah.
Great for core.
Yes.
More questions. Awesome, guys. Keep the questions coming if you have more. Can yoga help in injury prevention and recovery?
Yeah. So it really depends on what it is. And you have to be even more mindful. Like, you're already mindful on your mat, but you have to be even more aware. So it is important to always tell your teacher if you do have an injury, if you're nursing something. But there are so many modifications, and that's another thing your teachers should know, that there are blocks and straps and a million things to hold you up. And then also, someone told me once that depending on how your lifestyle is, so most of us have crazy busy lifestyles, we're active, we're physical, that you should do the opposite kind of yoga, which I found interesting. Like, so I wouldn't recommend a yin class necessarily, but a restorative class is what you're looking for. So yin is a bit more, you're just going to drop into flexibility and hang, and I don't love that. But a restorative is going to be a supported version of yin. So you're not dropping into your flexibility. The blocks and the bolsters are maintaining your flexibility, and you're able to relax. So even a mental restorative class is going to help you through an injury because injuries are hard. And so just breathing through it and learning how to quiet the mind and give yourself the okay is going to be helpful with recovery.
Yeah, that is interesting, the opposite of what you do.
Yeah.
Because I found it interesting that you said vinyasa was your jam, because when I was still dancing full time, I hated vinyasa. I was like, this is not what I want to do here. I've been like flowing all day.
I know.
So I would do hatha at the time. And that's another reason why I just, whenever dancers ask me about yoga, I'm like, just try a lot of different classes and instructors, because you go to one, you might hate it. And it might just be the person, it might just be the style.
Yeah.
Because
I had a friend tell me recently, she's like, I went to yoga for the first time and I thought it was too easy. Like, I thought it was too easy. Like, why am I doing this? And so again, it's finding the right one, or it's realizing, why do I think this is easy? Is it because I don't feel like I'm getting a physical workout? And then you need to just assess what's more important. Are you there for the mental side of it, like therapy, or are you there for a workout? And there are ones that are there for workout, and there are ones for restorative.
I think sometimes too, it depends on the day. Like, you have to know on that day what you're looking for.
So true. Yeah. But
we have another. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would recommend it. There's an app if anybody is really interested in kind of trying different types of yoga. it was called Cody, Cody, Cody app, but I think now it's called Aloe Move. So the Aloe Yoga
Oh, okay.
brand has taken that over, and I pay the monthly subscription to do it because I don't always have time to get to a studio. And they have anywhere from 20-minute work, like morning workouts to evening, and they're all available. So you could try every single kind of yoga on this app, and then you could transition into a studio if you're ever curious.
Right.
Or again, sometimes I come early and a few of us will do yoga in the studio before class, and I don't have to teach and I get to take.
Right.
And so
that's so fun.
Yeah.
So we have another one. Hi, Jess and Leigh Anne. Really interesting to hear your personal insight on yoga for dancers. Quick question. Any recommendations for the best time of day to do a yoga practice with the aim of gaining flexibility? For example, should it be before class or at the end of the day? Many thanks.
I would probably say the end of the day. It seems, I mean, yeah, I would say the end of the day. It's your muscles have been warm all day, and yeah, they're going to be more fatigued, but at least everything's been going all day, and that's really when you should stretch anyways, is at the end of the day. So morning yoga for me is just like finding mobility. You know, how much mobility do I have this morning? How sore am I? What do I need to get through my day? And then the evening time is when I would push for that. What do I want more of? You know, what am I working on for my ballet for that month? So end of the day.
Nice. I don't see any other questions. If anyone has other questions, type them in. Any final words of wisdom on yoga for dancers?
I would just say, like, get in there and try it. I think after a few you'll be hooked. And try eventually to get past the physical side of it. The physical side is fantastic and great, but there is so much to gain from just learning to sit by yourself on a mat, not speaking, and learning to love yourself, because the ballet world is hard and tough, and sometimes you just need to sit down and love yourself, because that's better medicine than anything. Yeah.
I fully agree with that one.
Yeah.
I do have one more question that I just thought of. Do you do any other cross training besides yoga?
I do.
So what else do you do?
Yeah, so during the season, it's just yoga and some Pilates, and I do a ton of exercises, in the mornings and things like that. But off season, so currently, still yoga, still Pilates, but I do Orange Theory sometimes.
Oh, okay.
So because I feel like I'm not getting any cardio, a lot of the dancers will run over to Orange Theory and check out the cardio. So that's been really fun. And then I also do Bar 3.
Okay.
So I really like Bar 3. It's more yoga than pure bar. They're still into like the breathing and loving yourself and modifications, and they don't tuck their tailbone under. They keep their tailbone neutral, which I've found is really helpful for me. So I'm like loving Bar 3 right now. It's so great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so very much, Leigh Anne. This was really great. And I think that a lot of people will definitely check out the broadcast, and I will definitely share it as well. And anyone who's watching or anyone who watches later, if you have questions, you can post them here in the comments, and I will be sure to add Leigh Anne to the group if she's not already in, and then she can answer your questions as they come up. So thank you again so much, and we will be in touch.
Yeah, namaste, everyone.